Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. I would really love to thank you all for coming. I know that it's a lot to take a class. We have a busy schedule, taking time from your day off, but I'm so happy you're here because education is something I'm extremely passionate about, and I'm so excited to share with you today. How many of you here love to do balayage? You can go ahead and put a yes into the chat box. And how many of you found balayage to be a bit of a challenge? You can go ahead and put a Y into the chat box again. Awesome. Yeah, so balayage can be one of the most complicated techniques for lightening, in my opinion, because there's so many different ways to do it, and there's so many different outcomes that you can get based on how you apply it, or your technique, or your sectioning. So I can't wait to dive in a little bit deeper about that with you today. But before I get started, let me just introduce myself. My name is Rachel Graham. I am a stylist behind the chair as well as a matrix artist. I've been doing hair for a little bit over 10 years. And blonding and balayage is really one of my favorite things to do. I was awarded Best Brunette Colorist in Boston back in 2015. And I feel like I really got that because of the time that I took to really transform brunettes. Giving them dimension, giving them blonde, giving them balayage lightness. So I'm really excited to share all that I've learned over the years. Before we get started, let me do a little slideshow with you guys so I can tell you all about Matrix. All right. So I've been working for Matrix for a little bit over 7 years. I absolutely love everything about Matrix, what they stand for, and their color. I love how it is all inclusive. It can be used on any hair type, any level. Just a few things, housekeeping things before we get started. I love to see all your beautiful faces, so please keep your cameras on if you can. And I'm going to have everybody keep their computers and phones on mute for now until we get some time to share. And if you have any questions, feel free to type it into the chat box. All right. So Matrix was started back in 1980, and the original professional brand always had hairdressers at the forefront. Really a love for hairdressers. It was started by a hairdresser named Arnie Miller. He was inspired by the idea of synergy and togetherness. He wanted to bring stylists together and have support for all stylists. He believes that it should be supportive of every stylist, hair type, and every business model, which is amazing. And Matrix still keeps those same values today. At Matrix, everybody is welcome. Matrix always believes to think outside the box, believe in your dreams, and dare to take risks. So this is a safe space here today. So feel free to step outside your comfort zone, try things that you maybe haven't tried before. We're working on mannequins today, so don't be afraid to really dive in. We are inclusive, uncomplicated, uplifting, and accessible. So we are here for all stylists all over. Our color can be used on all levels, all natural underlying pigments, all diameters, and all curl patterns. Our lighteners can give you as much or as little lift as possible, and we have anything to combat any underlying pigment. So, consultation. To me, consultation is probably the most important part of a successful blonding service. I've written down some of my most important tips for consultations. You want to basically repeat back what your client tells you. So that's important because then you and your client kind of know that you're on the same page. So always repeat back what they're saying, make sure you're understanding what they're saying, and always be honest, realistic, under-promise, and over-deliver. So basically what that means is you don't want to tell your client that you can get them to where they want to be in one sitting if you can't, or you don't want to over-promise like perfect lightening or the lightness. You want to make sure you under-promise. So sometimes I'll say, you know what, I love this picture. Maybe we could get there in a couple appointments, but today, like, this is where we can get you. And if for some reason you can get them further than you thought, then that's awesome. They'll be happy. Always remember you're the expert, especially now with Instagram and TikTok and all of social media. Our clients have a lot of access to a lot of information. So you want to remember that you're the expert, you're the professional, that you are the person that they should be getting the most information from. Always ask them a lot of questions. This is about them, this is about their hair, so make sure you make it about them. And share the steps with your clients so they know what to expect. A lot of times when stylists will do a toner, sometimes your clients might think, oh, they're doing a toner, maybe this is a mistake. Educate your clients on why you're using a toner. Tell them before that they're getting a toner. All right, a couple questions that you can ask during your consultation. What is your ultimate hair goal? What do you love about your hair? What do you dislike about your hair? Those are two really important questions because it's going to tell you a lot about this person's style, about what they like, about what they don't like. What is your hair maintenance? You don't necessarily want to do a platinum blonde on someone that's only going to come in twice a year. Or how do they style their hair? What products are they using? Are they going to take good care of their hair? Are they going to use professional product? Are they going to flat iron their hair every day? Are they going to blow dry their hair every day? Maybe they are just air drying their hair every day. All of those things you want to take into account, especially during a lightening service. And then how often do you want to come into the salon? I have clients that come in every 4 weeks. I have clients that I only see once a year. So that's really important, especially with whether you want to give them more of a lived-in look, something that's going to be more maintenance. And then do you prefer warm or cool tones? I think a lot of times we assume that our clients know what that means, but a lot of times they don't understand the difference. So it's really important to talk to them about that and find out if they're willing to lose any length and what is their hair color history. All right, now we're going to get into some hair. How many of you at home feel like when you do a balayage, you don't get as much lift as when you do with a foil? Put a Y in the chat box or an N in the chat box if not. All right, I see those Y's coming in. Yeah, so when you're doing open air balayage, you're just not going to get the same amount of lift as when you're in a foil, because when it's in a foil, it's encapsulated in the heat and it's going to lift for longer. It's going to stay more moist. So when I'm doing an open air balayage, which is going to give you more of a natural effect. So with balayage, basically it was invented to mimic the way the sun would naturally lighten up the hair. So a little bit brighter on the face, a little bit brighter towards the ends. So basically to combat that issue is I always will use a higher developer. So when I'm doing open air balayage, I always use either 30 or 40 volume. And you want to make sure you really, really saturate that color. Basically what I do is I start at the front of the face because that's where I always want it to be the brightest. Right here I'm starting with about an inch, about 2-inch section on the side. I'm actually going to go ahead and split that in half because I want it to be a little bit more high impact. So what I'm going to do is take more saturated sections. I'm going to take my first section and I'm going to hold it out really taut. You want to make sure that everything that you do is done very neatly. So you want a pre-section. You want to make sure you have 2 clean brushes. You want to have clips, your tail comb, and then your lightener. I always will mix my lightener with one brush, get rid of it, and grab a new brush so that I'm really neat. Because basically what I want to do is just get a bead of color just like that. Once you start to get lightener all over your brush and it makes like a whole mess, that's when you start getting spots on the hair, you get spots on you. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to hold this up nice and taut. What I'm going to do is start with the outsides first. So just go ahead just like that. I'm going to do sort of like a flicking motion with my hand. You want to make sure you keep it moving as you're applying the lighter. That's going to create a lot of blend. I'm going to go right up to the root for this look. A lot of times you won't need to go right up like that. What you're going to want to do is ask your client, where do you want that lightness to start? Some people will want it all the way up and they want that really strong money piece. Some people will want to have it a little further down. And you definitely want to ask your client questions like that so you know. I'm just going to move this so you can see it a little bit better, holding it out tight. When you apply the lightener, you really want to be able to see it right here. So I'm going to go on the other side and I'm going to do the exact same thing. There you go. See, I'm moving that brush. And then what I'm going to do is take my balayage board. I'm a big fan of using the board because I feel like it helps me control it, and then I can get a really, really good saturation on the ends. So this right here, this is considered a V section. So this is something that I use a lot because you get that really, really saturated end, but then it comes up really neatly on the two sides. So once I do that, I'm just going to blend the middle so it all connects. See that? Nice and bright. That's a beautiful section. And then you really want to go back and forth to make sure that you get that really good saturation. I'm going to take a little bit more. It's almost like you're frosting a cake. You want it to be really, really noticeable, really, really saturated. And then I'm going to blend up. Just keep blending, keep moving that brush. That's something you can really practice at home, even without liner. Just take your brush in your hand, hold it sort of like, I would say kind of like a pencil, and you want to practice moving it with your fingers and not with your wrist. And this motion is going to get you that really, really, really great blend. All right, so then I'm going to take a second brush. This is going to be your dry brush. So dry brush is great because it can help you fix any mistakes. So you can look on here and take your dry brush and really just blend it out even more. The more you blend, the better this is going to come. You want a really seamless balayage. And if you look closely right here, you can see like a little bit of a line. You don't want to have that there. So you want to go back over and just get rid of that line. Make it really, really clean and blended. And then all you're going to do is just drop it down like that. Perfect. So now you're going to go ahead and take your next section. For the look that I'm going for, I want all the ends to be bright. So I'm not going to take any hair in between. If you want more of a dimensional balayage, you can actually go ahead and leave some hair in between. But I'm going to go ahead and take my next section. Same thing, I'm going to take about an inch and a half section, and then I'm going to really just clip this hair right out of the way. I'm going to have everyone, if you have any questions, please make sure you type it in the chat box. I'll get to all of your questions. Okay, so take your next section. I'm just going to comb that out straight. And you want to remember you have hold that really nice and taut. You're going to take your next section and you're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go up one side, all the way up, to the other side. You can see that? So you're creating that V. All right. I'm going to take my balayage board and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back and forth, back and forth. Make sure that's fully saturated. The more saturated on those ends, the better. And then up here, basically, you're just painting the surface. So that's when you can keep it more natural. A lot of times I'll just look underneath, just to make sure that looks neat as well. And that actually looks great. I'm going to go ahead and take my dry brush one more time. And what I'm going to do is just blend that out even more. That's perfect. All right. And then you're just going to drop it. Awesome job, you guys. Really good hands-on. Now let's take a second, and I would love you guys to share with me any aha moments that you may have had, any questions that came up, or any challenges with this, especially if balayage isn't something that you're comfortable doing. There's definitely a bit of a learning curve. So let's talk about that, or any really like awesome ahas that you have. You can take yourself right off mute, and you can go ahead and ask. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, thank you everybody for today. I would love it if you guys want to send me any DMs or any balayage that you've done, tag me in anything. I would love to see your work. Thank you so much, you guys.